How's everybody doing? How you doing out there in the world? Hope you're doing all right. I'm sure you are. Here you are. Thanks for being here. So today we're going to do some follow-up finish up on our goddesses. Okay, so this week, so before we jump into this week, I want to do a little summary because, okay, so, I talk about goddesses and I watch other videos and I pay attention to other people. And one of the things that has come up is that the XY chromosome comes from a completely other planet. I personally, so my messages or remembrances from the Great Mother are that mothers are first. Mothers are first. And that the males were a mutation of her. She wanted to experience herself with a deep voice because, oh my gosh. Anyways, she wanted to experience herself with a deep voice and to not have to actually be a self-creator, so to speak. Not okay, that sounds a little backwards, but still being a self-creator through variety. This is how, and I feel like I've read certain things too. But again, just because it's written down doesn't make it so. And also that, yeah, that's the message I got. That mother is male. This is why we have female in the name. Female. First male, meaning before the male, is my theory about the language and all of that. So, in my last video, I was talking about the Seneca, and one of the things that I kind of skipped over was that there is a story of how the people believed that the males came from a different planet. So I want to just kind of like finish that part up, and then we're moving into the Caribbean Arawak deities for the day. So give me just a moment. Never mind. I know I mentioned it in the last video, so I'll re-watch my last video and see where I said that, because now I can't find it. It's not the Seneca story. I talked about the Great Hill people, and I talked about their goddess, whose name evades me right now. I think it started with an A. But somewhere in there, I read that. So I don't know, maybe it was the Arawak people who believe. I shouldn't say people. I'm generalizing. I'm not trying to do that. It was like one story within the story. So I'll find it. Okay, so today we are talking about, okay, this is kind of cool because I feel like I knew this but didn't know this. So I had mentioned before the goddess Yaya, but I did a little research, and Yaya is the supreme creator spirit. However, they are depicted as male. I found this interesting, so I did want to share it because there are stories of the names of the deities, and one of them is Ya or Yaya, okay, or Yael. And I found this interesting because Yaya had a child, and their name is Yael. Yael. Okay, so we're not focusing on that deity because they are male. So, but I wanted to share that with you. All right. So our deity for today is Atabey. Atabey is the mother of waters, of fresh water and fertility, and is also known as Ataberia, or Ataberia. And okay, so there is that tradition that there is that story of this goddess Atabey. Well, as I started reading about Atabey, there are other goddesses. There's another goddess, Kaguna, and that is the spirit of love. And then there is Wabanakax, or Wabansex, also known as Jorakan. Does that sound a little familiar? Jorakan became hurricane. Jorakan, huracan, right? Huracan. And it starts with a J, so J in Spanish is pronounced with an H sound. Huracan, right? So, huracan can also be a manifestation of Atabey's anger. Okay? So, I did a little bit more, so I'll share that with you. I have a little bit more to share about Atabey. Okay, so Atabey creates herself from the waters, represents the earth spirit and the spirit of all fresh water, the goddess of fertility. She is said to have given birth to herself and the world. So when I said before, she created herself. The moon is hers, and beauty. Also, this is I said before Taino, but from what I've learned, it's Arawak is the language, and so people of Puerto Rico. And then this is this is a depiction of her. I think I can do it like this. So just to make sure it is, I can keep this, on here. So feel free to look it up also, but I'm just covering her yoni because it's YouTube's and want to make sure it gets up there. Isn't that beautiful? So her depiction is basically a unclothed woman with the earth and everything within her. Often she is depicted with the head of a woman and the body of a frog. That's interesting. Frogs are considered her sacred animal, and the color green was a symbol of female fertility related to the beneficial rains. She's known to both have a nurturing and violent aspects, and her violent aspects are known as Guabanasex, the goddess of storms and volcanoes. Oh, and volcanoes. Okay. So what I like about this is there's an origin story. She created herself. There's no story like her and somebody else created stuff. She created it all, and through the waters. And I feel like this is a heavy tie into like Mami Watas and the idea of sirens or sibyls. Okay. So it talks about how she's worshipped as a Zemi, Zemi. So I'm gonna click on that real quick. A Zemi or Semi, Taino or Arawak, was a deity or ancient spirit and a sculptural object housing the spirit among the peoples of the Caribbean. Okay, so there could be a plural of that word. And okay, so ancestral mother. Okay, so what this says is a Zemi which is an embodiment of nature and ancestral spirit, not to be confused with a goddess. I'm just learning this right now as I'm reading this. How she is commonly referred to in a colonial terms to replace Taino verbiage and culture. Oh, I apologize then. A Zemi of freshwater and fertility. She is the female entity who represents the spirits of all horizontal water, lakes, streams, the sea, and marine tides. This spirit was one of the most important of the native tribes that inhabited the Caribbean islands of the Antilles, mostly in Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and Cuba. Atabey, mother of fresh water, depicted as a unclothed woman, yeah. And her children are Yukachu and Guacar. They're twins. And then this goes back to Yael. Okay, so Atabey would have been the mother. Wait, the creator was that? Wait, let me check this out before I say anything. I'm just gonna read this because it's phenomenal. I didn't read this before. So, Atabey or Ataberia defines prime matter and all that is tangible or material and has several manifestations, like a true primordial great creator mother. Okay, and then another is Caguana. That's the name I'd mentioned before, the spirit of love. And then the last is Guanasex. Hopefully that's just the pronunciation of a name. I hope that's Guabanche. Okay. Also known as Guabanche. The violent, wild mother of storms, volcanoes, and earthquake. Alternate names for Atabey are Lerwanakar, Lermawakar. Is that like the mother of Lemuria? Apito and Sumaiko. And the Arawak Taino women prayed to Atabey to ensure safe childbirth. Then it goes into the mythology. Yes, so Yukachu is one of her children. And I feel like this is where we get like Yucatan, Yucca tree, the yucca tree. That's interesting because you'll hear that. This is how I can see the relation to the Mayan language or the South American language and the Arawak, and even some of their traditions in the Arawak because of some of these names. Now, next on the list. Okay, so before we leave North American tribes, there are so many. So we're going to go into South America. I feel like maybe I should have started with South America first. Okay, because when I was doing so in my own research on trying to find what tribes or tribe I would have come from, because I have limited information because I'm adopted, and limited information from any kind of records or information coming. It only goes so far back. So the Chickahominy are in the Virginia area and today, and are said to be from that area. And I look a lot like them. I mean, like a lot like them. Okay. So I wanted to do a little bit of research. And what I found is I do have some similar original theories, but who knows? Because so much of a lot of history has been retold and rewritten. But when I was looking through their history, I feel like it was Chickahominy, but maybe it wasn't. You know how you can follow what you've looked up? Okay. What I thought I had found was some paper that actually linked the Chickahominy to the Olmecs. So I'll do a little bit more research. But the reason why I bring up these different peoples is because, as you know, and I mentioned this before, if we are the true indigenous people, then what about those that are now known indigenous people, whether they look like me or they look like the more Siberian indigenous? What are their stories? What is the story? What is their mythology? Because regardless, from what I've studied, they were all matriarchal. And it makes me, I can't tell you how frustrated I get, or it literally just kind of pisses me off that we'll see many remembering this about ourselves, but still dismissing the place of the mother and the matriarch and the female. And the land. Because one thing that is true from what I've remembered is we did not own the land. We did not consider ourselves owning the planet. We understood that the planet was a living relative ancestor. We don't own our ancestors. We steward them. We honor them. And so there's so many ways of how we were and how we are, especially when it comes to a matriarchal, equanimical society, culture, community, that have been completely misrepresented or patriarchized, turned into a patriarchal perception, when that was never the case. It was never the case. It's always been the mothers. So, with that said, I just want to say, when I read a lot of this, it's really cool because it reminds me. So, one of the statements here is, we always hear that the people say that they've been here forever. And then one of the first encounters of, say, Europeans or others from somewhere else was in 1607. That's not that long ago. 1607. Okay, and so that's when these people supposedly came across the English or Europeans, and they taught them how to grow and preserve corn. And Chickahominy is supposed to mean coarse ground corn people. Coarse ground corn people. I'm not, I'd like to know a little bit more history behind that, because I feel like we didn't name ourselves. Usually names and descriptions come from other people trying to describe us outside of language. Outside of language and culture, who gives us these names is just saying, okay? So, so during this time, there was the Powhatan Anglo Wars. So first the English came, and then around that same time were the Anglo-Powhatan Wars of 1644 to 1646. And this is where a lot of the peoples that were here were continuously being moved around, losing land and part of their culture. Okay, so I wanted to see if it. So again, this group is part of Algonquin speaking. Okay, the root of the language is Algonquin. I'd like to do a little bit more research on that. Okay, and then there are Western Chickahominy and there are Eastern Chickahominy. But I think what I wanted to do, so I did. I looked up their creation story, which I'm going to get to. But I wanted to just give a little background on the Chickahominy people. Algonquin. But there is also a what is called Eastern Chickahominy. And they are part of what is called Eastern Division, and they share a history with the Chickahominy until the late 20th century, where they decided to organize their own tribal government as their community was based in Kent County. And some found it inconvenient to always travel to Charles City County for tribal meetings, which is where the whole of the Chickahominy peoples would meet. And others say that the split happened because of disagreements over religious practices and land use. So it says today the Eastern Chickahominy have about 132 members and own about 41 acres of land. What? Tribe members have served in the United States military since World War I, and the tribe serves the needs of its community. Okay. Well, I thought it was through here that I had found the link to the Olmecs. So, what I'm going to look up now is creator deities or mythology of the Chickahominy. Okay, so what I found is there is a chief god and creator of the religion of the so it's linked to the Algonquin belief because of the language. And Ahon created the world as a flat disc with the Powhatan tribe as its center. It's a male deity. But I'd also seen there somewhere, well, I'm not going to say that. Anyways, that's the creator deity of, well, it's linked to the Algonquin, but also of the Chickahominy. And, okay. Yeah, there are so many. So let me just tell you. The Tribes of Virginia, and this was written in 2016. So these are state recognized tribes in Virginia, and this was 2016. So I'm sure, hopefully it's changed since then. Oh, maybe this is it. Okay, I'm gonna pause it real quick. So, okay, I got distracted. All right, so so here are the names of the tribes. I'm going to try my best to pronounce them correctly. The Mattapony tribe, the Upper Mattapony tribe, the Chickahominy tribe, the Eastern Chickahominy tribe, the Rappahannock tribe, the Non-Samond tribe, the Monacan tribe, or the Monacan nation, Sharonhaka, and they just Haka like Heka. Anyways, they're part of the Nottoway tribe. So the Sharonhaka Nottoway tribe, the Nottoway tribe, the Patawomic tribe, And then the federally recognized are the Pamunkey tribe, and they received recognition in 2015. So we do see groups and tribes that look like us that have been recognized, but they are not the most promoted. And then as I was scrolling down, I thought this was linked to it because I might have clicked on something here that, anyways, I don't want to say that. Oh, this is it. Let's see here, because it talks about the language. And I thought I zoomed in. I did. Here, look at this. Okay. So if you want to look yourself, what I did is I put in Eastern Chickahominy. And this is the Southeastern Indians, and it's anthropology and students. But this is it. So it talks about the language. So it's talking about geography and related groups. And then right before language. So it's talking about the geography. So I'm going to zoom in and show you because, once again, these old maps show things that we don't see on today's maps. Also, just like the drawing and the detail. Anyhow, okay. So here is the picture I'm going to end up zooming in on. See how it says Virginia? And it's really hard to see, but it has like each group. And then it talks about what you can't see because you're over there and I'm over here. But it also says Powhatan, okay, lands. And then wait till I show you this part. And then different land parts, and supposedly like who the names of like the said leaders of each part. Now, so when I zoomed in, right above Virginia, what does this say? Does it say Olmec, Omecks, Olmecs. I wonder if that's like the river of the Olmecs. Olmecs. Virginia. Okay, this is above Virginia. It looks like a river. And then here's something interesting. The Virginian Sea. You see that down there? You know what that is today, right? The Virginian Sea. I want to double check that, but I'm pretty sure the Virginian Sea. And this looks like Virginia was all, maybe even included Florida. It's hard to show you all on this little tiny map on my phone. But anyways, I'm guessing that that's actually the now named Gulf of Mexico, but it used to be called the Virginia Sea. And so this is the time of the Chickahominy peoples. So I just feel like there's so much information so much information that has been kept from us or retold to us. How many different peoples and tribes and languages there are out there that actually link to now what we call English. So again, I feel like I had heard this story before, but now we understand why the name hurricane. Also, a little bit more information as to why they are typically given female names because of Atabey and the original kind of energy. But what you will see with the Chickahominy, with the Arawak, with all different groups, you will see spirit and the connections to nature and the elements of nature are the beings, are the creators. are the ones who are what now I understand. I never put that together. That's okay. This is a learning process. By calling them gods and goddesses is actually reducing them to a colonial name. Oh, my goddess. So, I have some work to do on that. Even saying, oh, my goddess, I feel like I'm stepping out of patriarchy and kind of shedding that colonialism. But now I'm realizing, yeah, even like the word love, it reduces the feeling. That's not fair to say, but I get it now. Anyhow, going back to the connections and to the moment of today. So that's a little bit of the goddesses and a little bit of information about the Chickahominy peoples. And so the next video will be a little bit more about some more stuff about like this. Okay. Thanks for being here. I feel like there was something I wanted to share with you. Oh, there is. You know how I do with words. So recently I was reading or watching something about the stages of the feminine or the female, the woman, and her names around that. So we have like the maiden, the mother, and then the crone. And something I was listening to, we're talking about how it's like I think it was a story, and she didn't mention crone. The woman had just mentioned maiden and mother, and it was like a story, like she was telling a story to somebody else, and she's telling them about the 3 stages of women, and she mentions the maiden and the mother, but doesn't mention the crone. And I started realizing crone and crown. Have I done this before, y'all? Crone and crown. I mean, is it possible that crone was actually given to who wore a crown, and it was actually croned, because CROWN is like crone, right? Not the way we're taught to spell it. So, as we've heard from other sibyls teaching us that all queens were sibyls, but not all sibyls were queens. So in general, if you were looked at in royalty, you would go from maiden, mother to crown, wearing a crown within your own household. Over time, your wisdom, just throwing that out there. Crone. I'm just saying. All right, dearies, dear ones. Right. Oh. Yeah. How much time? 34 minutes? I think that's a good video for today. We'll do another one on some more fun stuff.